Hi there guys, welcome to Ramen Reviews. Today we have something a little bit special for you. I've decided to make my own ramen. It's taken me a few days. I have to admit I've been experimenting with different recipes and methods, but we got there in the end and I'm happy with the result. I've got a lot to explain in this video, so it might be a little bit longer, so bear with me, but trust me, it's worth it. It's quite easy to make, just takes a little bit of time. But the results will definitely impress your guests or whoever you're cooking for. So yeah, let's get into the video. Okay, so the ingredients you'll need and the ones I'll be explaining to cook are all here. So we have the shiatsu pork, we have soy sauce egg, we've got some fresh sweet corn, some shiitake, a little bit of lard, some seaweed, spring onions, tare, the broth, and fresh noodles. I realise some of the things look a little bit different and maybe this is a bit daunting for some people, but I'll walk you through it step by step and I promise you this will be as easy as possible. Okay, this here is the tare nabe, T-A-R-E, tare. This is the seasoning for the broth. So this is the salty part. We're going to put a small ladle of this in the bottom of our broth just before we serve it to season it up, and obviously you can put as much or as little as you want depending on how salty you want. But it's not just a salty element, it also brings quite a large umami element to it. To make this, you'll need 150 ml of water, 125 ml of soy sauce, 25 ml of sake, 15 ml of mirin, 5 grams of dashi powder, 9 grams of MSG, and 18 grams of salt. We just bring that to the boil, let all the solid ingredients dissolve, and we chill it. And that's our tare. For the pork, we are going to roll and tie some pork. You can keep it flat, it doesn't matter. You can boil it, you can roast it, you can do it however you want. Just, I've brushed mine with a little bit of soy sauce and sugar and sake. Again, balance those ingredients out however you want. Just something to cut through the fat. And if you can see my pork here, it's not too fatty. I've cut off quite a bit of the fat, so that's nice and easy. Boiled eggs, again, boil just until they're cooked. Just a tiny bit mushy in the middle, and we leave them in a sugar soy sauce brine for one to 2 days, depending again on how firm you want them. Fresh sweet corn, I've steamed this for 10 minutes and taken it straight off the cob. Noodles, again, pretty easy noodles, there's plenty of recipes out there. Flour, water, eggs, kind of similar to a pasta dough, but slightly a bit more water. Now, this one here is the tonkatsu ramen broth, and this is a lot easier than you think to make. We're going to soak some pork bones overnight, drain them off the next day. We'll give them a good rinse. We'll pre-boil them for an hour again, skimming off any impurities from the top. Give them a wash again, throw away all that water. So we've washed these twice now. They'll cover the bones again with water and we'll boil them long and slow, preferably 8 hours. If you've only got 4 hours, go for it, but minimum 4 hours. Try to extract all that gelatin, all that fat out of the bones. And for the last hour of boiling, we're going to add a few aromats. I've added some spring onions, some garlic, and a bit of cabbage in there. Then we strain everything off. Be sure to push all that fat, all that gelatin from the pork through your sieve, strain it off, and then we're going to boil it again rapidly this time. Emulsify it, which is why it looks so creamy. All that fat's emulsified in there, all the gelatin's emulsified in there. And then we're going to chill it down, and this is what I have now. And I've also added a tiny touch of MSG, a little bit of sesame oil, and some salt to this. That's all I've added, and that's the broth. I mean, it sets pretty firm. As you can see, it's quite sort of, doesn't look like broth, but it's cubed up, and it looks very different. But anyway, we'll get there. That's all for the cooking method. Now let's put that into practice and cook it all together. Okay, these are both on to boil now. Excuse the noise, it's an induction hob, but that should disappear in a minute. I've got some water on for my noodles, and I've got the broth on here. As you can see, this is already starting to melt. The reason why it looks white and creamy, sorry I didn't explain, is because we've finished it with the immersion blender. So we put the blender in, turn it on, it blends that fat, helps emulsify all that fat into it, so it becomes one solid color. And if you look at it, it actually looks kind of like milk now. That's what you want for tonkatsu ramen. One creamy, smooth texture. Yeah, that's pretty much it so far. We'll come back when everything's cooked, or boiling at least, so I can show you how to cook the noodles and simmer the broth. Okay guys, here we go. We are ready to add our noodles. We're going to add one portion of noodles, which again is about 100 grams, depending on how hungry you are, into our boiling water. We're going to boil those just for a couple of minutes. Probably 1.5 to 2 minutes, rapidly boiling. Just we get the egg cooked inside the noodle, but we still want a little bit of chew to our noodle. So we're going to let that cook. As you can see now, the broth has fully melted and is bubbling away, and you can see that that milky color is what you want. It's all one thing, it's not split. It is one solid milky color. So our noodles are boiling away here. As you can see, they're still a little bit dark, but we're going to keep them going. I've rolled these out with a machine and used a cutter for them, but again, you can do them by hand, make them a little bit thicker, and just, yeah, I mean, there's no rules really. I mean, it's cooking, you do what you want, but I like the thin because it just really grasps onto this broth, but some people like it slightly thicker, so you make it slightly thicker. Just turn that down so it doesn't boil over. Give that another minute and I think we'll be ready to go. Alright there, that's been 1.5 minutes. We're ready to give these a drain now. Straight into here. And now we have to work pretty quick, as we want to serve everything hot, and yeah, we've got to build this bowl. So there's some stages to put in the bowl, and I'll show you right now. All right, here we are ready to assemble. We'll go in now with our teaspoon of lard. We're going to add 1 ladle of the tare, a very small ladle. Just remember, you add as much or as little as you like. It is a seasoning, so just be very careful. And again, you can taste and add as you go. These are the noodles that have just come out. Straight in, that'll start melting that pork fat, sorry. Next up, we're going to assemble the vegetables. So we got shiitake, a little bit of sweet corn, and we can put our egg on here, a few very thin slices of pork here, and our spring onions here. All we need to do now is pour the sauce over the top. We're ready to roll. So I like to go over the egg, over the pork. Again, I've warmed the pork up in the oven for about 1 minute. It's very thin, so don't worry too much. And again, like I always say, it's all about that broth. A couple of pieces of seaweed in there. And I like to finish mine with a little bit of ground sesame. So, and there we have it. We have tonkatsu ramen. And one of the most important things is to give this a good stir, get all that seasoning through before we eat it. So let's taste this now. All right, we are ready to go. I mean, I've made this once or twice before, so I kind of know what it tastes like, but that broth is super creamy, super rich, lots of umami. Definitely worth making your own noodles. Lots of sesame, quite fatty. This originates from the north of Japan, so it's meant to be quite fatty. That fat keeps you warm in the winter, and the steaming hot bowl after skiing or something like that, that is what you want. That is a real good body warmer. That is one of the best soups you can make. Very easy. Again, I'll leave a link. I'll leave a recipe in the description, and I'm not going to review my own dish. I think this is one of the nicest soups out there. You can make this for yourself. You can judge. You can let me know. That's tonkatsu ramen. Thank you guys. Bye.